Got kind of a weird one for you today. This just showed up in the mail, and in fact, I had completely forgotten that I had backed this. This is Small Wars Mohicans from Avalon Digital. So it's a physical game by a video game company as part of their Small Wars collection. It is designed by Philippe Thibaut and Keith Fountain, with art by David Pentland and Massi Del Bono. You may know the name Philippe Thibaut because he was the original designer of the original Europa Universalis board game in the 90s, which then obviously went on to become a giant PC gaming franchise, which then went back to becoming a board game again, not by him, but by someone else. But Philippe Thibaut is also was one of the primary designers, or if owner. I don't know exactly his relationship, but he founded As Your Wish Enterprises, so La Grande Guerre, Europa Universalis, I think there was a French Revolution game in there, and a few others. That company no longer exists, but he is still designing. Most recently, Philippe Thibaut did the game Invasions, Barbarian, I believe, which was released to very mixed impressions. I actually backed that game. I still have yet to play it, but it was about sort of the fall of the Roman Empire and the barbarian migrations of the 4th, 5th, and 6th centuries. And this is his latest, I believe, Small Wars Mohicans. This is a game on the French and Indian War. Now, I backed this. It was really interesting. The crowdfunding campaign for this game was by Avalon Digital, who's a video game developer, and I believe maybe Philippe's company as well. They do historical war games in the PC space on Steam, I believe. And they did a crowdfunding for Small Wars Mohicans, both the board game and also a digital version. So I believe, if it's not out yet, it will be soon. And you'll be able to go download this game on Steam and purchase it, I believe. But I backed it, the physical copy, because I have a huge interest in the French and Indian War, and I basically buy any game that's about the French and Indian War. So I had to have this, obviously. It looked actually quite good. I'm very curious to see how it turned out. I know that Philippe's rules can be somewhat problematic sometimes. I haven't read the rulebook yet. But I thought I would do a quick unboxing. I don't know anyone else who's really talking about this. It's kind of cool to me that there was a video game company that did a tabletop and digital version of the game at the same time. The last one that I can think that did that, it's very uncommon. The last one I can think was the 7th edition of War and Peace, Mark McLaughlin's War and Peace, which I have the 6th edition from One Small Step, but the 7th edition was published by someone else and also released as a digital game. So I thought we would take a look in here and see what comes in Small Wars Mohicans. Here's the box. So you can see it's a square box. It says it takes about 60 to 90 minutes, so we're not talking about a long game here. Ages 14 plus, 2 players. I really do like the cover art. It's pretty striking, and I like this sort of slash of the image, kind of with the clouds and the trees here, sort of very evocative of the North American scene. Inside, we've got a bunch of dice. Looks like we have 2 D6s and then a bunch of custom dice. So that's interesting. We've got a couple of baggies, probably for the counters. We have a rule book. Let's go through this real quick and let's see. So it is full color. Talking about the map, it looks like it's single column for each page. Yep. As from what I remember from the Kickstarter, or from the crowdfunding, it was not a terribly complex game. And here you can see the map. So it's a point-to-point map. Pretty cool looking. Really shows the density of the forest in North America, which I feel like a lot of French and Indian War maps tend to miss. But just how much of North America was covered in trees is what makes this war really interesting. The guerrilla tactics, the fighting against the terrain. So here we see the setup for the game in visual form. And then we go through, talking about how to play the game, supply points for movement, how to move. It seems like this is not a super complicated game, but it does seem like there's some meat here. I'm just going to flip through this. The pages are kind of wanting to stick together. Victory determination, sieges, assault rounds. Yeah, so here's the dice. The white dice hit on 2 sides, eliminate on 1. The black dice are a little bit better. Curious to see how that works out. Combat. Looks like it might be based on strength points, potentially. This rulebook does not want to flip open. Here, it looks like some battle examples. Yeah, looks like that might be what we're seeing there. Let's switch hands here and see if I can do this in a little bit more of an efficient manner. Raids, that's obviously going to be a big part of any French and Indian War game. There's a little map of Fort Stanwix. The Iroquois adjustment, obviously, they are going to be a big part of any French and Indian War game. Naval combat and maneuver, so it's got the naval game. That's pretty cool. A lot of French and Indian War games don't have the naval game. Obviously, very important, the naval element to the French and Indian War. The French controlled the access to Canada, and it wasn't until Louisbourg fell to the British in 1758 that the British were able to sail down the St. Lawrence and attack Quebec directly, which culminated in the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. There are a couple of games, there's a new Battles from the Age of Reason game that's coming out that's going to include that battle, Battles for Quebec, which I'm very excited about. Here's some special rules about militias and Indian tribes. Here's the victory points. So the French can win. They hold Albany in either Philadelphia, New York, or Boston, or to deny the British their victory. The British win if they hold 3 of the 5, Montreal, Quebec, Louisbourg, Fort Frontenac, and Fort Duquesne. And of the 3, one of them must be Quebec or Montreal. So, yeah, pretty standard for French and Indian War games. Here's some optional rules. So this looks like, let's see. So this looks like moving to a full D6 system. So you get a unit effectiveness. You set up on sort of like a battle board, it looks like, and then based on the units that are firing, you roll a d6 and add a modifier. 6s are hits. I don't know how the odds of this differ from the custom dice, but we'll check that out. And here's a credits page. Let's see. The game has been created as a board game adaptation of the computer game Small Wars Mohican, created by Philippe Thibaut and Keith Fountain and distributed by SAS Avalon Digital. It is based on an original Canadian design from 1983 by Aulick Council Publishing with Tom Loback and Rick Bowes as co-designers. Interesting. So it's a redesign of an old game from the 80s called Mohawk. Fascinating. Cool. And then we've got a little gazetteer here, it looks like. Yep. And the historical reinforcements. Interesting. You can play the game without the naval war part of the game. And you can just do the historical arrival. So that's kind of cool. Is there one more page here? Maybe not. So there you go. Small Wars Mohicans. And this is kind of like just an illustration on the back. So here looks like a French rule book in case... Yeah, it's just the rules in French. All right. And then this is the last package in the box. This is probably going to be the counters in the map. So let me open this and we'll take a look. Here we have the counters, which are pretty lavishly done, I would say. They're glossy and they're quite large. They look like they're maybe 3/4 inch counters to me. Here we've got the British. These appear to be regulars. Oops, sorry about the camera. These appear to be British regulars. That man has a fanciful mustache. These must be the Highlanders, possibly. Here we have got provincials, looks like. Got some markers. Ooh, those just fall out quite easily. And here we have got some French, which I really like that they have the flags in the background here of the units. So like we have Berry, Lassar, probably Royal Roussillon in there. That's pretty cool. Here are some French Marines. And then we've got the Canadian provincials. So Beausejour, Fort Lévis. We've got the ships down here. I'm missing a counter because it popped out. Are they double-sided? They are double-sided. I don't know that the backside makes it... Oh, yeah. So there's little pips here. That might mean the number of dice they roll. Who knows? And they just fall out. I mean, look at. They're just... I just tap this a little bit and they come out. These are really nice. Pre-rounded. Glossy, really thick white core. Yeah, I like these a lot. Here is the second sheet of counters. These are also just falling out. We have got some Coeur de Bois, it looks like. We've got some Native Americans, Cayuga, First Nations people, Tuscarora, Onondaga. Got the Mohawks. It looks like the different Native Americans can switch sides or join the British or the French. Looks like we got Rogers Rangers here. They're going to be important to the taking of Louisbourg. These look to be neutral Native Americans. Forts, these look like control markers. So yeah, and these probably are also double-sided, raid markers. Yeah. These are just falling all over the place. That's nice. All right, let's take a look at the map. All right, here's the map. Sorry about the glare. It's actually a glossy finished map, which you don't see too often. But it's very attractive. You can see the point-to-point nature of it. Goes all the way here even to Wisconsin, which I'm trying to think of another French and Indian war game that has playable space in Wisconsin, which is cool. Obviously, the French fur trappers made their way down the Great Lakes, Lake Superior. The fox and the Chippewa represented here. Obviously, the Chippewa native to that part. Here we have got the turn track. It appears to be autumn and with the Canadian maple leaf at that, and spring. Interestingly, I guess it's the autumn of 17. I don't know. Maybe that was supposed to be the other way around. Oh, I see. The turn track runs from this direction. Autumn, spring. Yeah, okay. So it's you run, interestingly, you run right to left on this, which is kind of weird. I guess maybe if you are sitting on that side of the board as the French, you see it in the correct way. But it does start in the autumn of 1754, so that's even before, I believe that's before Fort Necessity and George Washington's defense against the French outside of Virginia, somewhere and out here along the Rappahannock, I believe. Somewhere in here. Oh, Virginia down here. Yeah, somewhere out in this general direction. We even go so far south as Salem, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's a very attractive map. The projection on it is slightly twisted, as you can see. Michigan, Ontario, St. Lawrence. We've got a box over here for ports, the major ports. It looks like Louisbourg, Brest, Rochefort, and Toulon. So it's even got some France represented in the game. Reinforcements and eliminated box for the British. I assume this is a victory points track. The dice results. Looks like a pretty simple combat system. So British will be sitting over here with their text facing them. The French will be sitting over here with the same. Yeah, I really like the look of this. You'll be moving point to point along these connections with your units. The units are really big, so like let me show you the control marker size. You're going to be covering the names of some of these places, so I don't know how useful that will be per se, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Fort Toronto. Interesting that this is here. I was under the impression that it was called Fort York to begin with, and it was not founded till after the French and Indian War, actually. It was like, so it's interesting that it's Fort Toronto there. I'd be interested to know the history about that, because I was under the impression that it wasn't until the late 1700s, early 1800s that Fort York was established by the governor of Canada, or the governor of Ontario. So yeah, I'll have to do some research on that. But anyways, this looks quite good. I'm excited to play it. It doesn't look too complicated. Playing in an hour and a half is quite nice. And the map has a really nice scale to it. It's a pretty large map, so yeah, this is looking fun. This was a look at Small Wars Mohicans from Avalon Digital, new release, shipping to crowdfunding backers, and I hope to have a report on how this plays sometime in 2025.